Starting today's show on a little bit more of a somber note, you were in the building at the Steelers facility when news broke about Franco Harris's passing. The legendary running back died at the age of 72. That's where I want to start today's show. What was your reaction upon hearing this news, IT?
Couldn't believe it. Caught it like 6 o'clock in the morning. You know, just retiring his jersey for the 50th anniversary between the Raiders and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Talking about the Immaculate Reception, and you get a text early in the morning that Franco Harris died. So it's like first it's like, man, stop playing, and you're like, why the hell I'm gonna play like this? So but just to hear, just to see the city embrace Franco, just to see the Steeler Nation embrace Franco, just all around the world. So when I was leaving from the airport, of course, when you drop down in the city of Pittsburgh at the airport, they have Franco's Immaculate Reception as a statue as soon as you come down the escalators. So they wound up moving the statue up on the main floor around the Christmas tree. And just to see all the flowers, the cards, the thank yous, just to see people taking pictures, which they always do. But it's a different kind of time to take a picture around that immaculate statue at the airport in Pittsburgh for Franco. And just sitting down, I wound up sitting down in the restaurant and hearing the young lady saying how she served Franco, his wife, and his son, and how cool and how humble of a person he was in the family. But I got to see them in person, and I got to talk to Franco with the inductee between Alan Faneca and Troy and Donnie Shell down in Miami a couple of years ago. And that was like my first time really talking to him. I talked to Mel Blount all the time when I seen him, but he's on the defensive side. So of course, even I talked to Rocky Bleav a lot. I think me and Rocky probably talked the most out of anybody. But just sitting down and talking to Franco with the little soft voice, he was. I just asked him why he didn't, or why they didn't come around as often. And they said, man, we had our time. We didn't want to hit y'all spotlight, but we love what y'all doing right now. Y'all making us relapse, and we were seeing what we did back in the day when I was in my time between 2003 and let's say 2011 when Pittsburgh defense was really popping. And I was like, nah, we really wanted y'all presence around us because y'all started this, Franco. And he was kind of in awe, like, for real? Was like, yeah, we want to feel what y'all feel. We want to breathe the same air y'all breathe. We just want to be around y'all because without the greatness which y'all did in the 70s, it wouldn't be a such thing as a Pittsburgh Steelers in a dynasty. So we just had some good moments. We had a hell of a time. I think we talked for like an hour and a half, and that's the longest I probably ever talked to a former 70 Hall of Fame Steeler, So just talking to Franco, but just hearing the other stories, it's always refreshing when you hear other people talk about Franco, even though I got to see Franco a lot. Franco, for me, was Unc. And what I mean by Unc is somebody who has done something, a pioneer of something before you. You always want to mimic. You always want to get the Super Bowls like them. Them boys got 4 Super Bowls back in the 70s. We fell two Super Bowls short, but we added 2 more to it in our time frame. So, but without them, it wouldn't be a Pittsburgh Steelers dynasty. It wouldn't be a Pittsburgh Steelers nation. We're famous, and one of the historic moments in the NFL period is that Immaculate Reception, and it comes off the hands and the feet of Franco Harris. So yeah, it was a sad moment. It's a sad week for the Steelers nation. To lose somebody like him of his caliber, to be one of the greats at that time in the 70s. But he will forever be remembered. He will forever be missed. One of the reasons why we have that museum now in Acrisure Stadium. I don't know if people know, but Mr. Art and Franco were very close. So big shout out, much prayers to, Franco Harris and his family, his wife and his son. Prayers to Mr. Art as well. But yeah, just to see them 6 Lombardis going on the second floor at that facility on the south side, just to see the still the pictures, just to see the wall of fame, not even the Hall of Fame that he's in, but the Wall of Fame on the second floor on the south side at the Pittsburgh Steelers facility with the running backs. Franco was just different. He was just different, but more of a gentle human than anything. And I keep telling myself all my life, damn near half of my life, because I got to Pittsburgh in my early 20s, man, I just been surrounded by greatness, whether it's from my owner, the GM, a coach, or former players, you know. So God has truly blessed me to be around angels, you know. So whether they up there visiting him or living with him now, whether they down on earth, I've just been so blessed and so fortunate to be around good people like him, especially Franco. I talk about all the time, there's good people, there's great people, and there's just good souls, people with good souls, and that's Franco. You know, Franco has a good soul. You can pretty much ask anybody. So he would give you his last, you know, without even thinking twice about it. So it was always about others. It was never about him. And then when you reflect back into what the 70s Steelers dynasty was doing, they always felt, you know, they had to do it for each other. Then what kind of accolade they was getting individually, it just worked out that, you know, there was Hall of Famers and they wound up having good accolades as well individually. So Franco truly will be missed. I caught me 3 angels. So I got Mama Rooney, Papa Rooney, and I got Franco, you know, looking down on me. So that's how I look at it. I thought about that last night. So that's how I'm looking at it.
Like when you talk to your son Ivan in like 20 years and you talk about the conversation you had with Franco Harris down in Miami, I Bleav it was for the Super Bowl. What's the takeaway that you're going to share, and what are you going to remember from that legendary dinner with a lot of the Steelers greats?
Well, you don't really take it. You don't really take it for granted till they pass, because you know you see them all the time. You know, for people to see Franco, Mel, Rocky, Terry, Swan, Stallworth, to see them, you know, all the time. You don't really take it for granted. You're like, they just part of the boys. You know, they unks to me. You know, I get to see them a lot. You know, especially when we have still events, they always come back. So, you know, for others, they living legends. They rock stars. You know, so you kind of take it for granted. Like, dang, I've been around a rock star my whole life. I ain't even know it. I just thought it was part of the family. You know, which he is just part of the family, which they are just part of the family. So my son, you know, he's going through that. He's going through that phase right now. You know, the stage ain't too big for him because he's been around, you know, the Troy Polamalu's, the James Ferriers, the James Harrisons, the Big Bens, the Pounceys, the Jerome Bettis, the Deuce Staley's, the Hines Wards, the Joey Porters, the Casey Hamptons, the Brian McFadden's, the Will Gates, the Shea Townsends, the Alan Fanekas. You know, he's been around. He's been at the Heath Millers. He's been around them people.
Yeah.
You know, they call him uncle. I mean, they call him nephew. So, you know, later on down the line, the more Hall of Famers that we get, when I was playing, you know, then he might be like, oh, okay, I see they was that important. But for him, that's uncle. You know, so just like in my mind frame, you know, the 70 Steelers, I've been around them so long because they come around a lot. It was just you know, part of the family. And, you know, for my son, until something happens, you know, they just part of the family, you know, in my generation. So that's just how I look at it, coming from my son's perspective.
Ike, I want to give a little bit of historic perspective here. So Harris set to be only the 3rd Steelers player in the franchise's history to have his jersey retired. Ernie Stautner's number 70 in 1964, and Mean Joe Green, the number 75 in 2014. Right. Again, Harris's commemoration set to be on 50 years since the Immaculate Reception, one of the greatest plays in NFL history. On Friday, the NFL Network's going to have a documentary, A Football Life, in honor of Harris. So the timing of this is just, it's tragic. Right. It's very, very sad. But again, you think of dozens of Hall of Fame players that the Steelers have had, and the Steelers don't retire jersey numbers. Now, there are certain numbers that are really unofficially retired. I think of guys like, say, Troy Polamalu. There are several
Yeah, ain't no
others.
43.
Yeah.
Nobody wearing no 43.
But
Yeah,
again, officially, Harris set
Yeah.
to become only the third Steelers in franchise history.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, when your boots on the ground, when you fly into Pittsburgh, that's one of the first things that you see. And everything I read about Harris, Ike, and I can go through the accomplishments of one of the 1,200 career rushing yards. That's 15th all time. It was third all time when he retired. He made 9 Pro Bowls in 13 seasons, a 4-time Super Bowl champion, member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. But everything I've read about Franco, it's his humility, his humbleness, and his kindness as well off the field is what people really take away for those that knew him.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it was, his kindness, and I hope people ain't take that for granted, but a lot of people do, but he didn't know any better. Franco ain't know no better. Franco just thought that's how people should act, just normal. Franco didn't even know he wasn't normal in a lot of people's eyes, man. You're a rock star, you're a legend, you're superhuman, so but that's just the kind of person he was. I can't really get in depth with it, just off of the moments I spent with him, very soft spoken. Will give you the clothes off his back. That's just what he was. He was a man of the people, so he's at a better place right now. So he did his time. When a good man call you and say time is spent well done, regardless of whether we like it or not. And yeah, it's bittersweet. This week will be bittersweet for the Rooney family, but especially for the Steeler Nation. Supposed to retire his jersey. And we talking about this is only the third jersey. I don't even know how many Hall of Fames. I think it's 29 guys in the Hall of Fame for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and only 3 got their jersey retired from the city and the organization of Pittsburgh. That's saying how important Franco was or Franco is to that city. So just a lot of greatness. We can go with the terrible Tower. We can go with the great Myron Cope. We can go with the great Dan and Art Rooney. We can go with the great Franco, Myron, Mama Rooney. It's just a lot of when I be saying this, a lot of greatness I've been surrounded by. Mark, it's been a lot of greatness I've been surrounded by. Franco is definitely one of those.
And I want to go to the Immaculate Reception in 1972 really quickly. So that was not only just the first Steelers playoff win in the franchise's existence, it was also the first touchdown in Pittsburgh Steelers history, because the only other playoff game that the Steelers played in was in 1947. Steelers got shut out in that game. So the historic significance really helped kick off that 1970s decade, one of the most elite franchises in dynasties in all of sports. Now, remember, in 1972, they beat the Raiders, but they lost in the next round to the Dolphins in a game that was played in Pittsburgh, despite the fact that that was the 72 Dolphins team. That is the only undefeated team in NFL history. And remember, the next season in 1973, Ike, the Raiders knocked off the Steelers in the playoffs. It wasn't until 74 to when the Steelers got their first Super Bowl title. But that was the first taste of playoff success for a franchise that had been dormant for decades. And it was Mean Joe Green, it was Franco Harris, and a lot of the other greats. But it was that play that was really the catalyst to sparking what became the 1970 Steelers and one of all of sports' best dynasties.
Yeah, we got hope. That catch was we got hope. I think that was running back Frenchie Fuqua.
Yes, sir.
They got hit, and it came off Frenchie. And, Franco's, Johnny on the spot. Right place, right time. Caught it. But, yeah, that was definitely the spark plug to the Pittsburgh Steelers dynasty.
Yeah, Ike, and I just hope that it's going to be more of a memorial and a commemoration. And I just hope Franco gets his due looking up from above this weekend and everything. And I was at the gym yesterday morning when Sal Paolantonio came on ESPN, and I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
Yeah, it was a shock to everybody, especially what's about to happen this weekend.